Good morning, everyone! Welcome to the first day of Alpha DevCon 2020 and the very first training session of the day. My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm head of documentation at Alpha Software, and I am joined today by Scott Allen, senior visual designer here at Alpha. Today, we're going to build an app from scratch. Scott, who is our client, messaged me that he needs an application. We will call him shortly to find out what he needs, as well as gather any resources he might have for us to build that app. And after we've talked to him, we're going to get started with a new workspace and go from there. So what are our goals today with this session? Some of you who have participated in past DevCon training sessions may recall that we built an application over the course of an entire day or 2 days. Today, we're going to build an app in 2 one-hour sessions. This first session is going to be 100% focused on the structure of the app. We're going to create the basic framework for Scott's app, and we're going to do that using panel cards, panel layouts, and panel navigators. We're also going to use lists, and today we're going to use 3 different layouts. We're going to learn how to use JavaScript actions to add action JavaScript in places where it isn't immediately accessible. We're also going to see how control templates can be reused for other needs. And finally, we're going to do a little bit of client-side templating. And I'm hoping you guys will learn new tricks to add to your toolbox if this is not the first time you've ever built an app. So let's get started. Let's call up Scott and find out what he needs us to build. Good morning, Scott. Thanks for meeting with me. I got your message that you need an app built. Could you walk through what it is that you need there?
Yeah, hi Sarah, thanks for calling. Well, as you know, we are Farmington. We are a local farm-to-business wholesaler. Currently, our customers, they usually order online, often by the phone. But we have some local farms that we use as our hubs for distributing. And we really want our customers to be able to choose through this app which farm that they select the products from and establish their order process, farm first, then the orders themselves, and taking them to a shopping cart that can fulfill that order. Do you think that's something you can help us with?
Yeah, I think I can definitely help you with that. How about I put together a few mock-ups and I'll send them over to you. And then also, if you have any images or some sample data I could use to build out the farms and the products listing, that would be really helpful in this first draft.
Sure, absolutely. I'll get a database out to you with a list of products and the pictures of those products. And that sounds like it'll be great.
All right, sounds great. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Welcome back. It's been a few hours since my call with Scott. During that time, I exchanged a few emails with him to flesh out some of the details in Farmington's app. Let's go over what they want. Farmington wants to streamline their ordering process and create a self-service option for customers to order from their farms. Users will need to log into the app to begin the order process. They will then specify which farm they are ordering from and select the farm to determine both the available products and the pickup location. After selecting the farm, users will then add items to the cart from the shop. The cart needs to allow users to edit or remove an item. Once users are satisfied with their order, they then finalize the order in the checkout screen, where they verify their billing information and submit the order. Let's take a look at the wireframes for this application that I put together for Scott. Here is an overview of the whole app. We have a login screen on the left and the main application on the right, which is a tabbed interface containing the screens where the user picks a farm, selects their products, reviews their cart, and finalizes their order. When the user logs in, the app navigates to the main application and displays the Pick Farm tab. Pick Farm shows the farm locations where users can pick up their order. On the left is a list of each farm and its address, and on the right is a map of all the farms. If the user clicks one of the map markers, the farm for that location needs to be selected on the left. Users pick their farm by clicking the farm's Select Farm button. When this button is clicked, the chosen farm needs to be saved and the user needs to be taken to the shop. The shop lists the available products for the selected farm. Here, the user clicks on a product in the list on the left and selects the order amount on the right. An Add to Cart button adds the selected product and quantity to the cart. The cart displays a list of all items in the order. Here, users can update ordered quantities or remove an item from the cart. Immediately below the cart list is a checkout button, And when the user clicks this button, it needs to take them to the Checkout tab. The Checkout tab is where the user submits their order. It has an order summary on the left and the user's billing information on the right. The user needs to be able to update the billing information here in case they notice it is incorrect. Scott also wants to include an agreement checkbox that the user must click before they can submit the order. Finally, when the order is submitted, the application needs to log out the user and return to the login screen. So, without further ado, let's build this application. Let's launch Alpha Anywhere and get started. We need to make a new workspace for this project. I'm going to name it Farmington. And then click OK. And we want to open the Web Projects Control Panel, because that's where all of our files are going to be stored. We'll ignore this new version available for now and maximize that window. So what I want to do first, before we build anything, is get the assets that Scott sent me into this project. So I'm going to click this Open Projects folder in Windows Explorer button, which gives me this view. And I have a folder that has all the assets that Scott sent me. And I'm just going to copy that in here. And what's in here is an Excel spreadsheet that contains some of the sample data that we're going to work with to build our app. And so we have two tabs in here. We have a products tab. It lists all the products that farms sell. And then also we have a farms tab that has all the farms that are available for users to choose. We also have in this images folder a logo, and they would like this logo to be displayed on the first page of the app. So I'm done with that. I'm going to close this. And next I'm going to create a new UX and start building the framework for our app. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to add some panel layouts, navigators, and cards that will create the structure of where all of our controls are going to go. First I'm going to add a panel navigator. And I'm using a panel navigator because I want to be able to programmatically control navigating from the login screen to the rest of the application. In here, we're going to have a panel card. Insert after. This is our login panel. And I'm also going to have another panel navigator after that contains our main application. And this panel navigator is going to be a tab band navigator. And what that will do is display tabs at the top of the control that users can click on to navigate the different screens in the app. Within the main app, we have 4 screens. We have the pick farm, the shop, the cart, and the checkout. If you recall, the pick farm had 2 different views in it. It had a list on the left and a map on the right. And to achieve that, we want to use a panel layout for that. I'll call this Pick Farm Panel. And so let's add those 2 cards. We're going to insert after. This one is our farm list panel. And this other panel card is our farm map. Next, we need to create the shop. This will also be a panel layout. Within the shop panel, we have 2 views. We have the list of products. Oops. And we have the detail of that product that the user interacts with to add something to the cart. We also have a cart. In the cart panel, we just have a single list with a button to navigate to the checkout screen, which is also going to be a single panel. We'll call this one checkout panel. So we have to do one more thing, and we need to add the names, the display name for the tab. This will be shown in the tab when the panel is visible. It'll also be shown in the tab just generally. So this one we want to be Pick Farm. We want our shop panel to say shop. So we have Pick Farm, we have shop, we're going to have cart, and checkout. All right, we're going to use this new add controls button to add our controls to this. So we want a couple of text boxes, which are here at the top. We're going to say multiple new controls, and we need a username and password. And we want the label of position above and left justified. We also want to have a image. We're going to pick the second image. It's a static image. This will display our logo. Let's go set that up now. We have a image from our project. We're going to look in the web projects folder, and we'll find this images logo Farmington, and that's the one we're going to use. We'll accept the defaults and click OK for now. The password field, we would like to make this into a password field, which means that we want the text in it to display as dots, so somebody looking over your shoulder couldn't copy what you wrote. And we're just going to go over here to text box properties and check password. Finally, we need to add 3 buttons. We need a login button, and I would like to set the theme for this button here now to be primary. And the reason for that is because I want to add 2 other buttons, a register and a forgot password button, but I want those to just use the base theme so they're not as prominent on the screen. Remove that line break, remove this line break, and then finally one more button. This will just be forgot password. And we're also going to rename our buttons to login button, register button, and forgot password button. Finally, I'm going to put some default values in for username and password to simulate the user's login name and password, so we don't have to enter it every time we test this. That's our basic login screen. Let's take a look at it. So we have our username, we have our password, we have our login button, which is prominent, and then also register and forgot password. So when the user clicks this login button, we want it to do 2 things. We want it to log them in and then decide whether or not the password is correct. If it's correct, we want to take it to the main app. If it's incorrect, we want them to try again. So I have a chunk of XBasic I have prepared in advance that we're going to use to emulate logging in the user. So I'm going to select the login button. I'm going to go to the click event for the JavaScript touch, mouse, and pointer events, and I'm going to add a new action JavaScript. I'm going to select the Ajax callback option. And in here, I wanted to call a function on the server called loginUser. And I'm going to click OK. And then save. And next we're going to go over to our XBasic function section here, and I'm going to add that function that I created. Here's the function. I'm going to quickly walk through what it does. It defines 2 JavaScript strings to return based on whether or not the login name and password is correct. So if it's incorrect, it's going to call this dialog object.runAction login incorrect. This is the syntax to run a JavaScript action, which you can see over here on the left. These aren't defined yet, so we're going to have to create them. But in the case of the fail, we want it to run the login incorrect action. And if it succeeds, we want it to run login correct. And for now, because we're not going to hook this up to the security system, all it's going to do is check that the username is user@example.com and the password is password. If it's correct, it's going to say success. If it's not correct, it's going to say it's fail, and it's going to return that final decision to the application. When the application receives the JavaScript, it will execute it. So let's go to define those actions now. Let's create a new action called login correct. Click OK. Edit this action. And all we want this to do is to navigate to the main app. So we're going to search for panel actions. We're going to say set active panel, and we're going to pick the pick farm panel and click OK. That's all this needs to do. And now we'll save that. And now we're going to also add the second action, login incorrect. And what we want this to do is just display a message that the username and password is incorrect. So we're going to click edit action. We're going to add a new action. We're going to select message box. We're going to make this a advanced message box so that we have a little customization. So here we're going to say login incorrect. And in this box here, which I'm going to expand, I'm going to replace my custom message with login, username, and password do not match. And that's all we're going to put in here. We're going to keep the defaults for everything else. Click OK and save that. So these are our two actions. We'll go back to controls real quick, and we're going to change the panel navigator here from carousel to programmatic so that we can't click and drag it to the main application. And then we're going to take a look at it in working preview. Change the username and click login. We get a message now that says our username and password don't match. So we change that to be correct. There we go. That's the behavior we want. So let's move on to the pick farm panel next. Pick farm is going to display two things. It's going to display a list of the farms and a map of the farms. We're going to start by making a list of the farms. So I'm going to add a new list, create a new single control, and its name is just going to be farm list. And we'll click OK. Next, we're going to double click in here, and we're going to set this up to connect to that Excel spreadsheet that Scott provided us. I'm going to select SQL, and I'm going to build a connection string to that Excel file. So here, in the specify connection string box, I'm going to click build. I'm going to select Excel from this list. I'm going to select the file from our web project. There it is. Open it up. It is an Excel 2007 file. I'm going to test the connection real quick, make sure it works. Click OK, OK. And then, as a final action, I'm going to say save as named connection string, and I'm just going to call it CONN. And I'm going to click OK. And there's our connection. So we have our connection. I'm going to click OK, and next I'm going to select a table from that file. This is the farms list, so we want the farms table. And for fields, we want all the fields. So I'm going to say select all and click OK. It should return the primary key, which is the farm ID. And if we scroll down here to return value type, we're going to change this from field to primary key. So that's all set up. We can now look at the fields to see what we have in here. A farm ID, name, address, city, state, latitude, and longitude. There isn't anything we need to do here other than create a select farm button, but we're going to do that after we create the initial layout. So let's go over to the list properties and set up the layout for this. We want to use a freeform layout for this list. So we come down here to layout type and change it to freeform. And we also want to add a data header that says select a farm. This will be displayed at the top of the list because we're going to have this list fill the panel card. We can't do a label controller, so we need to do a header or some other method to display what we want the user to do here. So we're going to say select a farm. we're going to go to the list layout, and we're going to insert a predefined template. And the template I want to use is the level 1, level 2 template right here. I just want to display the farm name and their address. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to turn off the disclosure icon on right, and I'm going to click OK. In level 1, I want the farm name, and in level 2, I want the address, the city, and the state. So a tip here is you can actually type in this box to create or to add additional fields here to a placeholder. And this, in some cases, is a little bit easier than trying to edit the template directly in the editor. So keep that in mind, that you're not restricted to just picking one item here. You can actually type in this box. So this is what the layout I want. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to click Preview. And that's what I want. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to create that Select Farm button. So here back on the Fields tab, we're going to click Add Item. We're going to add a button. And it's going to be called Select a Farm. We want the button text to say Select this farm. And we want the on-click event to navigate to the shop panel. And we're going to do that by creating a JavaScript action. So I'm going to add a new action here. I'm going to call it Navigate to Products and click OK. And in this action, we're going to navigate to the panel. So we're going to look for panel actions. I'm going to say Set Active Panel, and we're going to pick the shop panel, which you can see here is the one that would display all the products. Click OK, save it. Then I'm going to say click to see the JavaScript code to invoke this action and copy it to clipboard, because I need to paste that in here to run the action. And now I'm going to click OK. I'm going to go to the layout, and I'm going to add a new line here and just do a div, insert that button, and a closing div. Then I'm going to click OK. And we're going to go test this real quick. So we're going to log in, and we're going to say select this farm, and that takes us to shop. That's great. The other view we need to provide here is a map of the farm. And one way you could do that is you could add another list and set all that information up, or you can copy the existing control. So we already connected this list to our data source, so copying it and just changing the layout is the fastest way to create that map. So we're going to copy this. We're going to move it down. We're going to rename it to Farm Map List. And then we're going to change its list layout. We're going to change it from freeform to map. And then we're going to go in the map layout settings to configure a few things. The first thing we need to do is set the longitude and latitude that needs to be returned here. So if you look up here, you can actually see a little tip of what's available to you and the type of objects that you can reference. So we need to get the latitude and longitude from the data. And we can see here that it's capital L latitude and capital L longitude. And we have this helpful comment here that we can just copy and modify a little bit for our needs. So we're going to paste that there, and we're going to make these capital L. Case matters a lot in JavaScript. So these need to match exactly what you see up here. So that's what we need to do here to return the address where the markers need to appear. I'm going to click OK. And we're also going to set the marker icon. And I'm just going to use a built-in image sequence and select that top one, the red A to Z, and click OK. Finally, we need to add the action that selects the farm in the list when someone clicks the marker. So down here in the onClick for the JavaScript, this is the action for when someone interacts with the marker. We are going to set the selected value in the farm list to the selected marker here. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to get a pointer to the list object for the farm list. And then we're going to set its value to the farm ID. So we're first going to check to make sure it exists. If it doesn't exist, we don't want it to call this function. Set value. We'll set the value of the list, and we're just going to say data farm ID. So this gets the list control object for the farm list, which has methods on it such as set value, and we're going to set the value to the farm ID. The farm ID is the primary key, and so this is how we can select the farm in the farm list when the user clicks on a marker. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click OK again. And that's what we need to do here. I am going to turn off has data header because we don't need that. But other than that, that's all we need in here. I'm going to click OK. So let's take a look at this in working preview. So when we log in now, we're going to see two views. We're going to see the list on the left and the map on the right. So when we click one of these markers, you'll notice it selects the farm on the left, which is exactly what we want. And then select this farm takes us to the shop. So that's working. Let's do a few more things here. Let's have these lists fill the container. And let's make this panel a little bit narrower. Let's just say that its layout size is 500 pixels. Okay, now that we're done with the farms list, let's move on to the products list. We're going to go to the products list panel, and we're going to add a new list here. We're going to call this one products list. It doesn't need a label. And we're going to go through the list quick setup genie this time. We're going to pick our connection string that we created earlier, and we're going to specify that the table this time is products. We're going to include all the fields. And we're going to specify that the primary key is the product ID. We're also going to turn on the detail view for this. We're going to say it has a detail view. We're going to say all fields. We're going to select all, and we're unselecting product ID and image small. We won't need those in our detail view. We only needed the large image. And we're going to uncheck global errors, and we're going to click OK. We don't need the save, new, delete, reset, synchronize buttons. So I'm going to delete those now. And then I'm going to move all of these controls down into the detail panel. Next, I'm going to configure the products list to display the products. So here are our fields. We're going to double check to make sure this is set to primary key. That's good. And we're going to go to Fields tab. Here we're going to do a few things to make our lives easier. We're going to say the image small and image large are image types. And we're also going to define a numeric display format for our price. So I'm going to start by setting those images. So we're going to select small. I'm going to say that it's an image. The image data type is a name, and its location is in the products folder in our workspace. Value is the value of the image. In our Excel file, when I looked at it, the image name plus the extension is already there. So all we need to do is specify value here. And we have to do the same for large. So we're going to change this to an image and change the transformation template to products /value. We're also going to add a numeric display format for our price. And that's done using the numeric display format property in the client-side settings for the field. Here, I'm going to select this first format string by double-clicking it so it appears in this box up here. And I'm just going to insert a $sign right before it. And that's all we need to do. And I'll click OK. Next, we're going to change the list layout from columnar to freeform again. So we'll come down here to layout type and the layout properties, and we'll change this to freeform. And that's all we need to do here. Next, we'll go over to the list layout and we'll add our template. I'm going to use a predefined template again. This time it's going to have an image on the left and no disclosure icon. I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to find level 1, level 2 summary and click OK. The summary, I want to display the price and the unit. So I'm going to do that by selecting price and then adding the unit manually. Level 1, I would like to display the product name, And level 2 will be the description. And then I'll click OK. The last thing we need to do is add our image. The image up here right now is this image tag, and all we need to do is delete that and insert our image small. When we preview this, we should see a picture of the product and the descriptions for each row. And that's all we need to do here. So let's go on to formatting the detail panel. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go focus on the detail panel. Here we have our image again. We need to make this an image. So I'm going to select the image large and change it to an image and click OK. I would also like this to appear at the top. So I'm going to select these 4 controls and move them down. I also want the image next to the container of controls here. So I'm going to turn off the new line. These controls are almost in the right order that I need. I need to move the unit and the price down so that the product and the description appear one right after the other. I also don't actually need to display the price, but I do need it to perform a calculation for the subtotal, which we are going to add right now. We're going to add 2 controls. We're going to add a drop-down box, which will contain our quantity, and its label will be quantity. And I would like that position to be above the control. I'll click OK. Next, we're going to configure quantity. I want this to be a number field, and I would like it to display a static list of choices. So I have created a list of choices already, the numbers 1 through 100, and I'm going to copy them right now and paste them into this window. I'm going to save this list so I can use it somewhere else. 1 to 100. And I'll click OK. So that will let me quickly insert these values again later when I create the interface for editing the quantity in the cart. I'm going to click OK here. And then I'm going to add my subtotal. I'm going to select a text box. I'm going to call it subtotal. The label will be subtotal. And I'm going to click OK. This is going to be a calculated field. Subtotal will be a calculated field, and it's just going to be simply quantity times price. So we're going to insert quantity in this calculation, and we'll multiply it by price. And I'll click OK. I would also like to format this as a dollar value. To do that, though, this control needs to be a number control. So we'll make sure to set numeric up here. We'll scroll down here, and we'll turn on client-side formatting. The format type will be number, and we're going to change the format definition. Here's where we'll define the format. We want this to display as a dollar amount, so we're going to need to turn on a few settings here. We're going to have to enable round value, make sure it's set to 2, and we're going to add a prefix, which will appear before the value. We will also check has thousands separator, so that inserts a comma every 3 digits for our value. And that's all we need to do here. So let's now reorganize our controls here so that they appear how we want them in the app. First things I'm going to do is I'm going to hide price. We don't need to see that. It's already in the list. The user can just look at the list after they select it. So we'll hide it. And then we're going to reorganize this so the subtotal appears after the unit. We're also going to check that the subtotal is read-only, so it can't be modified. We want the unit to be a label. It doesn't need to be editable. And we also want to change the product and description to be a label as well. Next, we're going to remove these breaks, so these all appear on the same line. And I'm going to make each one of these controls about 100 pixels wide. I'm going to set the width for quantity first, and then I'm going to copy it to the other 2. And there we go. We'll select an image large, and we'll tell it that its width is not 100%, but more like 50%. And we'll also specify the same for the container. And look at that, it's already set for us. Let's also remove that border on the container. We don't really want it right now. If we look in here, we can see the quantities up to 100. Let's select one, and our subtotal looks like it's working. Now remember, we made it read-only, so even though you can select this, you can't change it. And there's our unit. Let's move that down a bit. It bothers me. We will just remove the word unit here. And this will align the controls. So the position's above, just like the other two. So I'm going to select products list, and I'm going to check fill container, and that will fill the whole container. Next, we'll go to the cart panel. And this time we're going to do something a little different with our list. It's not going to be connected to a data source. We're going to turn off the label for this as well. All right, we'll click OK. This cart list is going to be static data. We want to add items to the cart, but we don't have anywhere that we're storing that information yet. So I'm going to open up static data here. I'm going to paste in the definition. So here's what we're going to add. We're going to have the product ID. We're going to have the product name. We'll have the small image, the amount the user wants, the unit, the price, and the total that will display the extended total value for that particular record. I'll click OK. And we're going to set the return value here to product ID. Next, we'll go to fields, and we'll configure some of these controls. We're going to specify the image is an image. But we don't need to specify any transformation template here because we're going to copy that value from the list, the products list, and it will already be transformed when it gets copied out of the list. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add those numeric display formats for price. Pick that top one, $sign, OK. Next, we're going to go to the List Properties tab and turn on the Detail View because we want the items in the cart to be editable. In the Detail View map, we're going to create a new control for quantity. We're going to say Map Field, and we're going to say Create New UX Control. And we're going to click OK. And we're going to come down here, and we're going to select the cart, and we're just going to put that control after. We'll accept the default name for now. Next, we'll create two buttons that are going to be used to edit the records in the cart. We're going to add a delete button and an edit button. We'll call delete remove. Its button text will be remove. This button needs to remove the current item from the cart when clicked. So let's go in here and define that now. We're going to open up this onClick event, and we're going to create a new action JavaScript and create edit action. We're going to add a new action, and we're going to call it remove from cart. And click OK. Remove from cart will simply remove the current item from the cart, and that's done using list control actions. So we'll locate list control actions. The action name will be list detail view actions. The ID will be our cart, and the action will be mark current row as deleted. We want a prompt for confirmation in case the user accidentally clicks that and didn't mean to remove the item. I'll click OK and save. And then finally, we will click to see the code to run this. We'll copy it to clipboard, click OK, and then paste it here. And that's all we need to do. I'll click OK. We also need a button to edit the quantity. We'll call it edit. We'll change the button text to be edit. And then we're going to add an action to the onClick event for edit that will be invoked when it is clicked. We're going to make another action JavaScript. We're going to say add a new action. And this one we're going to call edit quantity. Click OK. But we're not going to implement this just yet. We need to set up a window first that's going to be displayed to edit the quantity before we can do this action. So instead, what we're just going to do, we're just going to copy this to clipboard, click OK, and paste it here. And we'll define the rest of this action later. Let's go over to the list layout now and add the controls for our list. We would like to display the product ID, the product, the image, the quantity, the unit, and the price. We'd also like to display the total. We'll put the remove button in quantity. So what we'll do here is we'll go to quantity, we'll say edit template, and we'll add our edit and remove buttons. We're also going to change the template for total. Total needs to be computed from the quantity and the price, and you can do that here using client-side templating. So let's do that. We're going to change this from total to price times quantity. And we're also going to insert a format directive. We're going to insert a numeric format directive. And this dialog should look familiar to you because we've seen it several times before. And we're going to pick that top option, prefix it with a $sign, click OK. And this will format the calculation as a number. One more thing we'll do here before we preview this is we're going to go here and we're going to change this data inline style. And we're going to remove that. The same with the heading. And we'll click OK. So now that we've created the cart, we can now create the Add to Cart button that will insert the item into the cart. So let's do that now. We would like this button to appear in the preview for the product detail. I'm going to add the button. I'm going to say Add to Cart. And I'm going to change this to primary so it stands out. And I'll click OK. Add to Cart's going to do some special JavaScript to copy the value out of the selected row in the products list and insert it into the cart. We're going to go to text mode for this. Let me make that a little bit bigger so you can see it. So this is some JavaScript that I've set up in advance, and I'm going to explain to you what it does now. It gets a pointer to the list object for the cart and a pointer to the list object for the products. If they exist, which you should always check to make sure your controls exist before you use them, we're going to make a new record. And what this is doing is it's making a variable called new record and it's making it an object. Where they're going to use this a5u.object.assign to copy the selected row data out of the product list, which is the current selected product shown in this detail, into the new record. Now you want to use assign and not a straight equals because a straight equals doesn't necessarily copy the values over. It may change if the selected list value changes, so we need to use assign here. Next, we need to add the quantity. As you may recall, there is no quantity field in our product list, so we're going to add a property called quantity. We're going to assign it the value of the quantity field. And then finally, we're going to call add table row new record on the cart. And this inserts a new row into the detail view and triggers all the events. And then finally, we want to run an action to display a message that the product was added. And we're going to use JavaScript actions again here to do that for us. So this action needs to be called product added. So I'm going to copy that out of there. I'm going to go to action JavaScript and create a new action. I'm going to add that action, product added. I'll click OK. I'll edit that action. And what I want to do is display a transient message, which is the third option from the top here. And click OK. So in the definition for this action, we want it to display a message that the item was added to the cart. So our message text will be item added to cart. And we want this to be in the center of the screen. We also don't want this message to be displayed for 5 seconds before it disappears. So let's make that something smaller. This will display the message for 2 seconds before it's automatically hidden. We're going to keep the rest of the defaults here. And click OK. And save. And click OK. So that is the add to cart action. We copy the data from the selected product into a new record object, add the quantity, and then add that to the cart. I'm going to click save here. And we're going to go look at this in action. Select our farm. There we go. So let's select 7 and click add to cart. Our item was added to cart. If we go to the cart, we should see that in the cart. So here's our item. We can use remove at this time to remove the item from the cart and click yes, and now it's gone. Let's add it again. Go back to the cart. So let's next hook up this edit so we can edit that quantity in the cart. Go down the screen here, and we're going to find that quantity one that we added, and we're going to rename this to quantity edit, just so that we know what it's being used for. And we want to display this in a pop-up window. So I'm going to change this container1 to a window type. And I'm going to rename it so that it's easy to identify. I'm going to call it edit quantity pop-up. Click OK. And then go to the window properties to define this window. Here, we want to change the title from window to something more meaningful. So we're going to call it update quantity. We're going to keep all the other defaults, and we're going to add a couple of toolbar buttons. We want one button to cancel, close the window without making any changes. So we'll add a cancel button. This label will be cancel, and its default action will be close. We're also going to add OK. OK will save the value. And this one, instead of the action being a close action, we're going to change it to custom. And we're going to add a little bit of JavaScript. So let's open this up. Now, important to note, the code to close the pop-up window is simply just this.hide. This is the window, and hide is the action that closes the window. So we're going to add that, but we're going to put it down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to add a dialog.object.run action save quantity. Now the reason I'm typing this out here is if I click here and say create action, I'm going to get this message that is not supported in this context. So I need to manually add it here. But that message doesn't mean you can't run JavaScript actions here. It just means that the interface isn't available. So I'll click OK. Click OK and OK. And then I'm going to go over here to JavaScript actions, and we're going to add that action now. And it's going to be called save quantity. I'll click OK. It will edit the action, and we're going to add another list action. List control actions, multiple actions. We're going to select the list detail view actions. We're going to select our cart list, and we're going to say submit detail view edits to list. And that will save the changed quantity back to the cart. And I'll click OK. And save it. While we're here, we're also going to change edit quantity to display that window so we can edit the quantity. So I'm going to add a new action here. I'm going to find the window action. I want to show a container window. And the container window ID is simply edit quantity pop-up, and that's all we need to do here. This needs to be a drop-down. So we're going to change this to a drop-down box. And we're going to insert our list of 100 numbers. And there they are. I'll click OK. When we renamed this field, it was disconnected from the cart. So we need to reconnect this quantity field back to the cart. Let's do that now. So let's go back to the cart. We'll go to detail view. We'll update the detail view map. We'll select quantity. We'll say map field. And we'll say quantity edit. And click OK. Now when we look at the cart and edit a value, we see the value here. And if we change this to something else and click OK, it updates as we expect. Okay, let's move to the checkout panel next. Here we need to display some information. We need to display the farm that was selected, a summary of what the user is going to buy, and their billing information, as well as an agreement checkbox and a button to submit the order. Let's start by adding that selected farm. So up here, I'm going to search for a label and select label. And I'm going to call it selected farm. And the label will be farm. I'll click OK. On this one, we need to connect this to that list when the user selects the farm. So let's go back and look at the list and see what that button did. Let's update the Select a Farm button to set the value in the selected farm. When you select the onClick event, you may notice down here in the onClick area, there's some more information. And here it explains the variables that are available to us that we can use, including data, which is a pointer to the current row data values for the row. Let's open up this onClick event and move it over. So let's add a new line here, and we're going to insert a UX component method. And the method we're going to insert is set value, which is this top one here. Insert. And then we're going to replace all this code here with the code we need to set the value. So the value we want to set is in the selected farm. So if I hit space here, the help menu appears, and I can use this to select the control name. If I hit control down arrow, then I can pick selected farm from this list. And the value you want to set is in that data object that we were told is available to us. So we're going to say data.capital N name. Now I know it's capital N name because it's capital N name over here on the left. JavaScript, again, case sensitivity is important, so make sure these match, and you should be good to go. I'll click OK. Next, let's add the line items. Now this is a trick that I hope all of you will utilize in the future. We're going to use a view box. And the reason we're going to use a view box, we're going to call it invoice VB. We'll call it that. And no label. Click OK. So the reason we're going to use a view box is that the view box has a lot of handy sample templates in here that you can actually reuse for your own purposes. So the one I'm going to pick here is list of orders for a customer that uses static JSON data. And then I'm going to change the data source type from static JSON to a list. And that list is our cart list. There's nothing to change on fields. This is just informational. But what we do want to change is the view box layout. Now this looks rather complicated, but there's a piece of this layout that I want to use. And it's all the way down here inside this order items at order items preprocessor. And it's got this header, something that looks like a list of products, and a footer that has some summary information in it. I don't need any of the other information in here at the top, so I'm going to remove it. And I'm also going to go down here to the bottom and remove everything after the closing order items. Next, I'm going to change order items to a special placeholder called star root, lowercase. I'm going to change it up here, and I'm going to scroll down here to the bottom and change it there as well. Root is a special command that says starting at the root of my data, the origin, the top of the tree, whatever you want to consider it to be, and then iterate through each one of those records. And it's going to have a header. This is the area where it's going to output the actual records, and then the footer comes after everything else. This only works with view boxes. You can't use it with a list because in the context of a list, star root is literally the row of data, whereas with a view box, it's whatever the data source is. So I'm going to keep this order items preprocessor here. What this command does is it calls a JavaScript function that is sent all of the data in root before it executes any of the template stuff down here. And I'm going to show you why we need that in a moment. But first, I'm going to go through here and I'm going to update the header, the main body, and the footer to contain the content that we want. So first I'm going to change item ID to product. Next, I'm going to scroll down here and delete product ID and just have it be product. And I'm also going to change unit price to just be price. I'm going to do that here. And I'm going to do that here. So this product is the name of our product. The quantity is the quantity. The price is how much it costs. And the extended total is the total price for that line item of quantity times price. Next, we're going to go to the footer. And we're going to remove everything in here except for this total, which is the total extended price, which is stored in this temp variable. And I'll show you where that comes from in a moment. So first I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove the count. Remove the quantity. I'll remove average price. So that's all we need here. Next, we're going to go take a look at this order items preprocessor function, which is defined on this JavaScript tab. Here is where we'll find that implementation of the order items preprocessor. In this function, it does a number of things. It computes the total quantity, the total price, the total extended price, and a grand total for orders for a customer. In the original template, it was displaying a report for all the orders for a customer with a final summary that displayed the total price, the total quantity of everything they ordered. We only have the one order, so we don't want all of this extra calculation. We also don't want to know the average price or the average quantity or an item count of what was ordered. So we're going to start by removing those calculations from this function. We're also going to remove this grand total. Again, we only have the one order, so we're not computing a sum of multiple orders. Next, we're going to take a look at this total extended price and find out where it's coming from. If we look inside this for loop, we'll see that the total extended price is being computed right here. It's also computing a total price and a total quantity. And since we just removed those calculation variables from this function, we should also remove these calculations. Finally, we need to change unit price to just be price, because that's the name of our field in our data. So let's take a look here at what's going on. When this command, star root at order items preprocessor is encountered, it calls the JavaScript function order items preprocessor and passes it all of the data from the root source of our viewbox, which is the cart list. In that function, we iterate over every single record, we get the current record, and we compute the total extended price, and then add that to our total extended price, which we want to display in the footer of our layout, which, as you may recall, is down here. The word temp corresponds to this object here passed into the function. Temp is where you can store temporary calculations in your client-side templates. So this computes the total price, the total extended price for that item, and we want to put that here into total extended price. And then we want to return data. It's really important that you return data because this function is expecting you to return the data that was passed in because it's pre-processing the data before it runs to the template. We don't need this from that sample, so we can remove it. So if we go back to our viewbox layout, all we should have here now is a header that displays those items, a list of items in the order, and then finally the total extended price at the bottom. I'm going to click OK. Now, this won't display the items in the cart unless we do something very important, and that is in the onActivate event for the checkout panel. And in here, we need to tell the viewbox to go and refetch its data from its data source. So we'll go into onActivate, and we're going to insert a UX component method here. We're going to insert a method here that's going to refresh the viewbox data. And it's conveniently called refresh viewbox data. So we'll use the filter to find it, insert it, and we're going to replace UX viewbox name with invoice VB, all caps. Invoice VB. And click OK. So now every time the checkout panel is activated, the viewbox will refresh. While we're here, we're also going to add the billing information. So I'm going to add a frame. I'm going to call billing information is the label. And we're going to insert it after the selected control. I'm going to change this to a modern frame because it'll give it a background and have it pop out a little bit more. And then we're going to add a whole bunch of controls, a whole bunch of text boxes. And we're going to use this create multiple controls at once to do it. So I need to include in here the name, address, city, state, zip code, phone, and email for the billing information. And this is going to eventually come from the logged in users data. For all of these, we want the position of the label to be above and on the left. And we're going to click OK, and that will insert all those controls in here. Next, we're going to do a little bit of formatting. We're going to set the width of these two, the name and the address, to 100%. We're going to remove the breaks on city and state and set the width of city, state, and zip to 33%. And then remove the break on phone and set the width of phone and email to 50%. We're also going to add a container around selected farm in the invoice from the containers tab here, so we can do some side-by-side formatting. I'm going to pick the none container and click OK. I'm going to remove the break because I want these to be side-by-side. And I'll set these both to 50%, both the container that I just added and the frame. Finally, at the bottom, we need to add our checkbox for the agreement. Which is going to be a logical control. And its name will be agreement. We don't want a label. So we're going to remove the label on this one. And we're going to also add a button. And it's going to be submit order. And click OK. Now we don't want submit order to be enabled unless the user has agreed to the agreement. So first, let's go here and set the checkbox text for the agreement to I agree to the terms and conditions. We're also going to set its width to 100%. And then submit order, we're going to add an enable expression. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, we're going to find agreement, and I'm going to set the agreement equal to true. So that will only enable submit order if we've agreed. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of magic here so that when this is clicked, it simulates logging out the user. Because we don't have the security framework hooked up, we don't have a logout option. So I'm going to edit the click event for the submit order, and I'm just going to say window.location equals window.location, and what this does is it just reloads the screen. So it gives the illusion that we've submitted the data and have logged out. So now that we have this set up, let's do one more thing. Let's go back and revisit that login function. We'll go to xbasic functions and we'll look here, and we're going to look at this JS succeeded function. And what I want to do here is just set all that billing information to some fixed values when the user logs in. And I conveniently have all the code for that written up. And here is that code. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way and not setting a default value on the controls themselves is that when we go to hook up the security into this application, these values need to be set here. So by putting my test data here, I know exactly where I need to change it when I integrate it with the security framework and read those values from wherever they're being stored for our users when they log in. So this is going to set the name, address, city, state, zip, phone, and email in the billing information box when the login succeeds. It's not going to do that if the login is incorrect. The other thing to note is that because our submit order is going to reset or reload the window, it will clear out all of that billing information automatically. So that, again, that simulates logging the user out. So let's take a look at this app in working preview and see if there's anything that we're missing. So looking here briefly, I think I want to adjust the height before I show this to Scott, and also add that checkout button that was in our original wireframe. So let's go quickly add that checkout button. Let our cart grow to as tall as it wants, and then have some Q&A. So to let the cart just grow as tall as it wants to be, all you have to do is remove that height value. It will get taller and taller as items are added to it. With respect to the checkout button, I'm just going to put that at the bottom below the cart I'm going to say checkout. Click OK. And its action is going to be to navigate to the checkout panel. So we find our panel actions, select Set Active Panel, and pick the checkout panel from our list. And save it. And that's all we need to do here. So let's save this, send it off to Scott, and see what he wants changed. I mentioned at the beginning of this session that this is actually a two-part session, and part 2 will be today at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to do the mobile layout, and we're also going to integrate some branding with feedback from Scott. And if there's time, we'll do a postmortem. This will be a live session, so be prepared. And now let's do our Q&A.
All right, so here's the first question. And Sarah, are you on the line now?
I am definitely here.
Excellent. Live, right? Not just on tape. All right, fantastic.
I promised I'd be here.
We'll put you through a Turing test to see if it's the real you and not just a recording.
Oh, no.
So the question is, wow, there's a lot of lists in here. Is this going to be a really heavy application?
I'm a bit unsure about that. We could take a look at the file size.
Yeah.
I can go take a peek at that right now. So it sits at about 1 megabyte in size right now, which I don't think is particularly huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. And then someone else asked, well, what about the security section? I could see us doing another session just on setting up that security framework and wiring it into the application. So I'm thinking that would be a great Wednesday webinar. I know we talked about that before.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to get everything in that one session. Let's see if there are any other questions. Can you make the checkout save the order someplace? A database or something like that. That would be a really good addition too, as well.
Definitely.
As well as have it, right. And then the other one is, how did you find the reference to all that JavaScript used in the items to the cart? Maybe you can do a little demonstration of that, because there are some places where we can find the methods and things like that.
Oh, definitely. I can share that to you guys. I mean,
Great.
I don't know if all of you know this, but I wrote a lot of documentation, so I kind of know where all these things are already.
It's kind of cheating, but can I make you the presenter? Can you maybe show us?
Absolutely, yeah. I'll
right.
take a peek at that.
Okay. Let's see.
See here.
Trying to make you presenter here. Oops, there you are.
See if it works.
Okay, you should see a dialog box where you can click OK to share your screen. All right.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
All right. So the question is, how do I know about all of that? Was that in the add to cart was the question, right? Where did this come from?
Right, it was for the cart, exactly.
Right. So some of this stuff, it may be available in here in this insert UX component method. And the ones I think that you really want to know about would be like this object assign, add table row, and run action. So I'm just going to quickly search to see what is here. So object assign is not there. Add table row is here. So this is working with a list object, which you get using the get control function on the dialog object. That's going to be here in this insert method dialog. But this other thing called a5view object.assign is part of our JavaScript library, and I'm going to show you guys where you can find that information. We have a lot more available in our JavaScript library than the insert dialog shows, in part because there's a lot of it, and that dialog would just grow to unfathomable size if we put all of it in there. So if you go to documentation into the reference section and then take a peek inside client API, we have this A5 namespace. And in here we have a bunch of classes and namespace. All of them back the objects in Alpha Anywhere. We have utility functions. And down here you'll find that a5.u. And then in here, you're going to want to click on a5view object. These are just utility methods we've created that we use internally and we think are helpful for manipulating JavaScript objects, and one of them is that assign method. And we've got a short little example here. If you've ever worked with JavaScript before and you've ever assigned an object just using straight equals, you may run into a situation where modifying one modifies the other, which is why we've added this utility function. It makes it easy to just make a copy of that object. So I'm going to copy this link for you and paste it in the chat, so you guys have access to that. But this is where you can find all those JavaScript methods, client API, stuff in the UX. We also have some extensions on the JavaScript language itself, which you can find in here.